When I think of the 1955 Dodge La Femme, what comes to mind isn't just a car, it's the image of a soft pink yet proud machine, like a steel flower blooming across the wide boulevards of America's golden decade. This car hardly needs a long explanation about its era. Just one glance and you can already sense the spirit of the time etched into every contour. The front end is commanding, with a broad chrome grille stretching wide across the nose, giving it both strength and elegance. Twin round headlights sit on either side, like radiant eyes, trimmed in chrome that adds a hint of femininity to the bold face. But the true signature lies in its two-tone paintwork, misty orchid paired with sapphire white. On a full-size sedan, this color scheme was strikingly unusual, transforming its large body into a rolling piece of visual art. Dodge's intention was clear. La Femme wasn't just a car, it was a statement. It was designed to stand apart, to turn heads, to pamper the tastes of a very specific audience. More than transportation, La Femme was conceived as jewelry on wheels. Step inside, and the theme continues seamlessly. Upholstered seats in floral fabric accented with pink and white vinyl, a tastefully appointed dashboard, and most famously, the accessory set that came with every car a matching handbag, raincoat and hat. Everything was coordinated with the interior, making the cabin feel less like a driver's seat and more like slipping into a custom-tailored dress. Each journey felt like a fashion show in motion. Yet La Femme wasn't all about appearances. Beneath the hood sat a 270 cubic inch Red Ram V8, displacing 4.4 litres and producing 183 horsepower. Those numbers put it right in line with the Ford Fairlane and Chevrolet Bel Air of the same year, with a smooth, confident performance that proved Dodge wasn't merely marketing a gimmick, it was a real contender on the road. What makes the La Femme unforgettable is how the press dubbed it Detroit's fashion car. The nickname carried equal parts praise and irony, for the model never sold well and lasted only 2 years. But that very label cemented its legacy, a rare experiment, a one-of-a-kind chapter in Dodge's history, and a car that anyone who has ever seen it finds hard to forget. When I think of the 1953 Cunningham C3, what comes to mind is not just a rare automobile, but a masterpiece few have ever had the chance to encounter, a coupe that wears the graceful lines of Italy, yet hides within it the pounding heart of American muscle. Born from Briggs Cunningham's dream of conquering Le Mans, the C3 emerged as a curious bridge between two worlds, the sculpted elegance of European design and the raw power of Detroit. One look at the front tells you everything: an oval grille framed with bright chrome bars, twin round headlamps standing proud, a face that manages to look aristocratic and aggressive all at once. The body curves flow effortlessly, as if sculpted from clay and polished to a mirror sheen, catching the light with every contour. Cunningham's philosophy was clear. This was not just to be a beautiful car, but proof that America could build a grand tourer worthy of standing alongside Ferrari or Aston Martin. That's why the C3 carried the artistry of Vignale's coachwork while housing the brute force of a Chrysler engine. Step inside and the theme continues: thick leather seats, a clean cluster of round gauges and a stout 3-spoke steering wheel. To sit in a C3 is to feel an odd balance, like lounging in an Italian salon, yet when the engine fires, the sound is unmistakably American, a growl that calls you to the open highway. Under the hood sits Chrysler's 331 cubic inch Hemi V8, displacing 5.4 litres and producing around 220 horsepower, a formidable figure for the early 50s. Against contemporaries like the Ferrari 212 Inter or the Aston Martin DB24, the Cunningham C3 could hold its ground, often outmuscling them when the road stretched wide and straight. It was proof of concept, American durability fused with European sophistication. Perhaps the most fascinating detail is its rarity. Just 25 coupes and 5 cabriolets were ever built. That scarcity led the press of the time to call it America's Rare GT, a compliment tinged with acknowledgement that Briggs Cunningham had dared to walk a path unlike any other. When I think of the 1953 Kaiser Dragon, I picture a grand sedan that carries itself like a distinguished guest, large, imposing, and draped in a style that simply cannot be mistaken for anything else. Launched in the early 50s, when American automakers were locked in a race to outdo one another in luxury, the Dragon wasn't just another car. It was Kaiser's bold statement that it too could enter the high-end arena with its own distinct personality. From the front, the Dragon makes its presence known with a broad oval grille striped with bright chrome bars, flanked by large round headlamps that give it an expression both gentle and authoritative. The long hood, pronounced fenders, and the subtle crease running along the body emphasize its size while adding a touch of grace. And then there is its most famous detail, the dragon skin vinyl exterior covering, a textured reptilian pattern no other manufacturer dared to attempt at the time. Kaiser's design philosophy was clear. The Dragon was built not to imitate Cadillac or Lincoln, but to offer a different vision of American luxury. It was less about projecting power and more about presenting comfort and individuality, a car for those who wanted to stand apart. Inside, the Dragon welcomed its occupants with a cabin that still feels charmingly extravagant today. Seats were upholstered in ornate Laguna vinyl, designed to mimic fine woven fabric, paired with wood trim and genuine 14-karat gold accents on the dashboard. Sitting in the Dragon felt less like climbing into an automobile and more like stepping into a rolling living room where comfort and style blended seamlessly, a car built to bring the comforts of home onto the road. Under the hood lay the supersonic inline-6, displacing 226 cubic inches, 3.7 litres, and producing about 118 horsepower. Against the powerful V8s from Cadillac or Oldsmobile, it wasn't a performance leader, but it delivered smooth, reliable motoring, perfect for the serene, unhurried experience the Dragon was meant to provide. Production was extremely limited, with only about 1,277 examples built in 1953. Because of this rarity and its unforgettable faux dragon hide finish, the press dubbed it Kaiser's rare luxury sedan, while collectors today still affectionately call it the Dragon car, a name as unusual as the car itself, and one that ensures the 1953 Kaiser Dragon remains a true curiosity in American automotive history. The 1955 Hudson Italia is one of those rare cars that feels less like an automobile and more like a vision captured in steel. Even after 7 decades, it still looks futuristic, low, sleek, and impossibly exotic for something born in Detroit. At first glance, the Italia's face is striking. The nose sits long and low, with twin headlamps recessed deep into sculpted housings, a bold move in an era when most American sedans were tall and boxy. The narrow grille sits quietly between them, leaving the curves of the body to speak for themselves. Around the sides, flared arches and faux rear vents give it a racy, aerodynamic profile, more concept car than production machine. Inside, the Italia continues to surprise. Pale leather seats wrap around you, a clean dashboard stretches ahead, and large windows flood the cabin with light. It feels airy, modern, almost European, a deliberate contrast to the heavy chrome and plush velour found in Hudson's regular sedans. It was crafted not just to transport, but to impress. Under the hood, the Italia carried Hudson's 202 cubic inch inline-6, producing about 114 horsepower. Modest compared to Cadillac's or Chrysler's V8s of the time, yet smooth and reliable, suiting the Italia's role as a grand touring showpiece rather than a brute force performer. Driving it wasn't about racing, it was about elegance, about turning heads wherever it went. Only 26 examples were ever built, each hand-finished by Carrozzeria Touring of Milan. That rarity alone cemented its legend. The press called it the American exotic, and it's hard to think of a better name. The Italia was Hudson's dream car, a bold experiment in blending American engineering with Italian artistry, and today it remains one of the most unforgettable chapters in American automotive history. When I think of the 1957 Chrysler 300C, one word comes to mind: power. Not just raw horsepower, but presence, elegance, and authority, wrapped in steel and chrome. From the front, it's impossible to mistake. A wide, commanding grille stretches across the nose, framed by bold quad headlamps, Chrysler's first use of dual lights. Chrome accents catch the sun, while the long, flowing body lines sweep back with confidence, ending in tall, dramatic tail fins that defined the forward look of Virgil Exner. This wasn't just styling, it was a statement, a promise that the future had arrived. Step inside, and the theme continues. Wide leather seats embrace you. The dash is clean and purposeful, and the large steering wheel feels solid in your hands. It's not just a car interior, it's a command center where luxury meets control, and every drive feels like an occasion. Beneath that long hood lies the heart of the beast, Chrysler's legendary 392 cubic inch Hemi V8, 6.4 liters of thunder, producing an astonishing 375 horsepower, making the 300C one of the most powerful American cars of its era. Against rivals like the Cadillac Eldorado or Lincoln Continental, the Chrysler stood taller, not only as a luxury coupe, but as a performance leader, a true pioneer of the muscle car spirit. The press of the time called it the beautiful brute, and really nothing sums it up better. Gorgeous to behold, ferocious to drive, the 1957 Chrysler 300C remains one of the greatest expressions of power and elegance ever to wear an American badge. When I think of the 1957 DeSoto Adventurer Convertible, the image that comes to mind is one of bold elegance, an automobile that doesn't just move but commands attention wherever it goes. From the front, its wide chrome grille stretches with confidence, flanked by dual headlamps that sparkle like jewelry. The body lines sweep gracefully towards those dramatic tail fins, sharp and soaring, the unmistakable symbol of America's love affair with style in the 50s. Drop the top, and the car transforms, suddenly lighter, more refined, like a grand statement made with effortless charm. Inside, the adventurer continues its show. Two-tone leather seats invite you in, a gleaming dashboard reflects the optimism of the era, and a big, commanding steering wheel makes you feel as if you're taking the stage. Slip behind it, and you don't just drive, you perform. Beneath the hood lies the real surprise, a 345 cubic inch V8 delivering 345 horsepower. That perfect symmetry of numbers wasn't just marketing, it was muscle. For a convertible in 1957, it was remarkable, standing shoulder to shoulder with Cadillacs and Chryslers, and in many cases, leaving them behind. This wasn't just a cruiser, it was a powerhouse dressed in elegance. The press at the time nicknamed it the Golden Fire for the unique gold trim that glittered against its bodywork. A name that fit perfectly, for this was a car that burned bright, both in style and in spirit, and still does whenever it reappears today. When I think of the 1958 Packard Hawk, I picture a proud, defiant coupe, almost like Packard's final bow before leaving the stage. There's something unusual about it, something bold and rebellious, as if the car itself knew it was the last chance to make a statement. The front end is unforgettable, a raised center hood stretching forward like the nose of a jet, a wide chrome grille gaping open like the mouth of a whale, and twin headlights peering out with sharp, confident eyes. Seen from head-on, the Hawk doesn't whisper sophistication, it shouts presence. Along the sides, crisp body lines sweep cleanly toward the rear, where small tail fins and a neatly tapered tail give the impression of speed even when standing still. Inside, the Hawk feels surprisingly sporty for a Packard. Firm leather seats, A driver-focused dash and a broad three-spoke steering wheel make it clear. This was designed to be driven, not just admired. It's less like the plush sedans Packard was known for and more like a machine built for spirited roads, carrying hints of European grand touring flair. Beneath the hood sits a supercharged 289 cubic inch V8, breathing through a McCulloch unit and producing about 275 horsepower. In 1958, that meant the Hawk could stand shoulder to shoulder with Chrysler's 300 or Ford's Thunderbird. It wasn't the outright fastest of its peers, but it was easily the most powerful Packard ever built, an American thoroughbred with a distinctive voice. Period journalists and enthusiasts gave it a poetic nickname, the last swan turned Hawk, and that's fitting. The 1958 Packard Hawk wasn't just a car, it was a symbol. The final roar of a great mark captured in chrome, leather, and a defiant V8 heartbeat. When I think of the 1951 Hudson Hornet, I picture a car that is low, long, and steady, not flashy in the way some of its rivals were, but carrying a quiet confidence that makes you stop and look. It's like a gentleman in a perfectly tailored suit, understated yet impossible to ignore. In the early 50s, America was chasing progress and optimism after the war, and cars became symbols of that dream. Hudson chose not to follow the crowd. Instead, they introduced their revolutionary step-down design, lowering the floor pan into the frame so the whole car sat closer to the ground. It wasn't just a styling trick, it made the Hornet safer, more stable, and far more aerodynamic than almost anything else on the road. The exterior of the Hornet feels like a blend of strength and grace. Up front, a wide chrome grille stretches across, gleaming like outstretched wings. Twin round headlamps perch proudly, slightly protruding, giving the impression of a predator's watchful eyes. The body sweeps back in long, flowing curves, accented by subtle chrome strips that catch the light. Even at a standstill, the Hornet looks ready to leap forward. Hudson's design philosophy was clear: build a luxury sedan that drove like something far sportier, with poise and control. Thanks to that step-down chassis, the Hornet's center of gravity was lower than most competitors, giving it handling that surprised everyone. It was a family car, yes, but one that could dance through corners like no other full-size sedan of its day. That balance between comfort and performance is what propelled it into racing glory. Inside, the Hornet feels warm and inviting, almost like a living room on wheels. Wide bench seats stretch across both rows, roomy enough for three abreast without a hint of crowding. The dashboard is simple, elegant, dominated by large round gauges and a slender steering wheel with a touch of chrome. Sit inside, and you don't just feel comfortable, you feel cocooned, shielded by steel, yet surrounded by touches of refinement. Beneath the hood lies the heart of the legend, a 308 cubic inch inline six, producing around 145 horsepower. But with Hudson's twin H-Power dual carburetor system, output jumped to over 170 horsepower, astounding for an inline six of that era. While rivals boasted V8s, the Hornet proved that clever engineering and efficiency could deliver equal, if not greater, performance. On NASCAR tracks, it wasn't just competitive, it was dominant, leaving supposed heavyweights trailing in its wake. It's no wonder the press and fans alike christened it the fabulous Hudson Hornet. That nickname was more than a title, it was a statement. The Hornet wasn't just another car on the market, it was a machine of beauty, strength, and ingenuity, one that carved its name into both racing history and automotive legend. The 1951 Hudson Hornet is more than a car. It is a spirit of innovation, wrapped in steel and chrome, carrying with it the soul of an era when being different was celebrated and automobiles were built with both purpose and poetry. Muntz Jet, 1952. Some cars don't just exist on the road. They exist in memory, in whispers of legend, in the way people's eyes light up when the name is spoken. The Muntz Jet 1952 is one of those cars. It wasn't built for the masses, it was built for the bold. Look at it once and you'll understand. The jet sits low and long, stretched like a piece of sculpture meant to challenge the wind. Up front, a broad chrome grille spreads across the nose, grinning with a mixture of defiance and charm. Twin round headlamps stand proud, staring back at you with a kind of mischievous confidence. The body flows in smooth, uninterrupted curves, tapering gracefully toward the rear, as if the whole car were a metallic arrow waiting to be released. Earl Muntz's vision was audacious: create a true four-seater sports car in an era dominated by two-seat roadsters. The jet wasn't just about the driver, it was about sharing speed, luxury, and drama with those lucky enough to climb aboard. It was eccentric, yes, but it was also a statement of freedom. Step inside, and you're greeted with a riot of color. Genuine leather seats in shades most automakers wouldn't dare. Scarlet, red, turquoise, even deep purple. Chrome sparkles across the dash, with clear gauges lined up like jewelry. The oversized steering wheel feels like an invitation, as though the car is daring you to take command. Sitting in a jet is less like sitting in a car, and more like sliding into a private lounge on wheels, where individuality rules above all. Beneath the hood, the jet carried serious muscle, a Cadillac or Lincoln V8, displacing 5.4 litres and producing between 160 and 200 horsepower. For 1952, that was enough to leave ordinary sedans gasping in its wake. No, it wasn't as refined as a European Jaguar XK120 or a Ferrari Coupe, but it had something those cars never did: American bravado, raw and unapologetic. The press dubbed it the Hollywood car because actors and stars couldn't resist its flair. But for enthusiasts, the Muntz Jet is remembered as something greater: a rolling act of rebellion, a car too outrageous to blend in, too rare to forget, and far too daring not to love. Nash Metropolitan 1959. Some cars don't need brute force to make an impression. They simply arrive, and suddenly you can't help but smile. For me, the 1959 Nash Metropolitan is exactly that: small in stature yet overflowing with personality. At a time when American cars were growing larger, louder, and more extravagant, the Metropolitan chose a different path: compact, charming, and almost playful. Its exterior is unmistakable. The bright chrome grille sits proudly up front, flanked by two large round headlights that resemble cheerful eyes, giving the car a friendly, almost human expression. The two-tone paint scheme, paired with its rounded curves, makes it look lively, as though it was built to slip gracefully through crowded city streets rather than dominate the highway. The design philosophy was simple. The Metropolitan wasn't about speed or power. It was about charm, practicality, and making driving a daily delight. Step inside, and you're greeted with an interior that feels cozy rather than cramped. The seats, wrapped in cloth or bright vinyl, invite you in with warmth. The dashboard is straightforward, uncluttered, and carefully arranged, offering exactly what you need, nothing more. Beneath the hood lies a 1.5-litre four-cylinder engine, producing around 55 horsepower. Modest, certainly, compared to the thunderous V8s of its era, but more than enough to whisk the Metropolitan through town with efficiency and ease. Reporters and enthusiasts affectionately called it a pocket car, a nickname that captured its petite scale and undeniable cuteness. The Metropolitan was never built to intimidate or overwhelm. Instead, it brought joy, personality, and a sense of style that still feels timeless today, a reminder that sometimes the smallest cars carry the biggest smiles.